Yo, what's up guys, I'm Yanick from the Beauty School, and in this video we're making modern trance in the style of Marlon Hoffstadt. Marlon Hoffstadt AKA DJ Daddy Trance is a Berlin-based DJ and producer who's known for his energetic trance and hard house music that has become really popular over the last couple of months. With these tracks like Call Me, I Got You, It's That Time and many more, he's delivering amazing shows and never fails to make the crowds dance. In this video I'm going over all the essentials of a modern trance track, such as the kick and the bass, drums, vocals, synths and so much more. And after watching this video you should have a clear understanding of how you can build your very own modern trance track. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and with that being said, let's get straight into this. All the sounds that I'm using in this video, like the samples, presets, vocals and even the project file from this video, are included in our brand new pack Ecstatic, which is the ultimate modern trance, Eurodance and hard house producer pack, which contains all the essential sounds to create a modern trance track. If you want to check it out, then use the link in the description, which goes to our website theproducerschool.com, and on there you will find more information about the pack as well as some preview sounds, or you can just simply click the link over here. Most of Marlon Hoffstadt's tracks are at a fairly high BPM, something between 140 and 150 BPM, and for that reason I set the tempo of this project to 145 BPM, which is somewhere in the middle. Let's first take a look at the kick and the bass, which lay the foundation of the track. Together they sound like this. The kick consists out of two layers, which is the main kick and a top kick. The main kick that I used in this track is a little bit more of a housey kick, which sounds like this. For the processing of this kick, I added a destructor, which is an effect plugin from FL Studio, and I only used the distortion part of it. It mixed at a really low wet level, so it adds a little bit more drive to the kick. And then there's an EQ, which boosts a little bit of that click in the high end, like the really high end. And I did this to make the kick come through the mix a little bit better. Then there is the top kick, which originally sounded like this. It's a heavy trance kick, but I faded out using the fade out button of the sample all the way up, so you only have the nice beginning. And then I applied an EQ, which removes a lot of the low end. It only leaves a little bit of the mid, mostly the high end. And that's because the main kick is already taking care of that, so everything could be removed from the top kick. The top kick is definitely a nice addition to the kick, because without it, it sounds like this. And then with the top kick, this top kick also makes it easier for the kick to cut through the mix a little bit better, especially on lower quality sound systems like your phone or AirPods. Now let's check out the bass of the track. It consists out of two layers. The first one is the main bass. And if we take a closer look at the MIDI, you can see that it's playing a B, a G and then an F sharp. And it's also making a constant octave jump from the B3 to the B4. And it creates a nice groove and drive to the track. The sound for this bass comes out of a Serum. It's a preset from our pack Ecstatic, and this bass is called Voyager. It's a very analog sounding bass, worked really well for this track. If we take a look at the effects, there's an EQ on this. There's not a lot of processing going on for this bass. There's only an EQ on there, which works as a filter, like a low pass filter, a high pass filter I mean. Like that, and that's used for automation purposes. And then there's a kickstart, which is a very heavily sidechained preset, which makes sure there is some heavy sidechaining going on the bass, and it's sidechained to the kick. You can see the kick over here. And this leaves enough room for the kick to play and create a clean mix. Then the second bass layer is this top bass, which sounds like this. It's also an instance of Serum with a preset called Ride, also from our ecstatic pack. It's a very plucky saw bass, which has a little bit of downsampling on it. You can barely hear it, but it's adding this nice crunch on the very high end. Then I used macro 3 called Top Only to remove all of the low frequencies. Because since this is a plucky top bass, not necessarily there for the bass, but more for like the groove and filling up some space in the track, I could remove all of the low end because the other bass is already basically taking care of that. It also plays a different pattern than the first bass. It's a little bit more syncopated, which helps with the groove. It still follows the same bass notes, so B, G and then F sharp. For the processing of this top bass, there is an EQ, which again removes more of that low end again. And a high shelf, which removes and ducks in a little bit of the high end. But that's basically it for the bass. All the other effects are already on the preset itself, so there's a chorus on it, which makes it wider, and a delay, which is some basic 1/8 note ping pong delay. And in the mixer there is also a kickstart for sidechaining. Moving on to the drums, which sound like this together. And then with the kick. And now let's dissect every layer of this drum groove. First of all, there is this clap. Pretty basic 909 style clap. No effects on there. Then open head. A fast close head rhythm that plays every 16th note. Just a really simple pattern. There is a kickstart on it to create a kind of groove. So without it, it's just like this. With the kickstart, it creates this pumping effect. An EQ to remove some of the low frequencies. Not doing that much. Let's drag down the volume again. It helps with some more drive to the track. Then I added this top loop, also from our ecstatic pack, which are some very sustained drums. And then another drum loop from our pack, which is a rave loop. So there's a lot of things going on in this loop. It creates this kind of old school character and also fills up a lot of space in the mix. In the second part of the drop, there's also a ride introduced, which plays at the same pattern as the open head. So at every offbeat, the ride sounds like this. Only a kickstart for some pumping effect, but together with the other drums, it sounds like this. I added this ride for some more energy in this part, so there's even more things going on. Makes it sound more like a sustained loop. And then there's also this percussion sound, which is a cowbell, Together with the other drums, it sounds like this. Also adds even more energy and hype to the track. At the start of every 8 bars, there's also this crash. Just a simple 909 style crash, which you can hear in a lot of these modern trance tracks. Helps with the impact of the drop. And there again. And here again. And at the transition parts, there's also this simple clap fill. And then here again, also for transition. Like that. Now let's go over the synths of these tracks, which are a few layers that I can show you. First of all, there is this plug melody. And it's playing this typical supersaw trance plug. Simple sound, but it usually works really well. It's not playing the full melody actually, because I cut up this pattern. So in the track it's basically playing only this. Something like that. Without the effects, it sounds like this. And I added an EQ to remove a bunch of the low frequencies and duck in a little bit of the low mid and boost some of the high ends to make it stand out a little bit more. Then there is a simple fruity delay 3, ping pong delay, and a reverb for some extra room. And as always, a kickstart for sidechaining. Another lead melody that plays in the second part of this track is this really big supersaw lead. Complements that other plug melody that I just showed you. For the sound, I used a preset called Tremendous, which sounds like a kind of analog supersaw. For the effects, there is an EQ on there, which removes all of the low end and ducks in a little bit of the treble, so it sounds a little bit more analog and warm. Then there is a destructor, which adds a little bit more distortion to the sound. A fruity phaser, which creates this phasing like effect, which you can hear in a lot of trance tracks. And a fruity reverb to make it sound really big. Then finally there is this last layer, which is an extra lead that sounds like this. It sounds a lot like the Root Sandstorm actually. The preset was also remade after the track. A really cool sound that's still used nowadays. It's playing a simple pattern, just the root note of the track. Some longer and shorter notes. Nothing really crazy, but it added some nice character to the second part of the drop. Because without this extra lead, it sounded like this. And then with the Root Sandstorm kind of lead. Definitely add some more energy to the track. For the processing of this lead, there's an EQ on there to remove the low frequencies. A Blood Overdrive, which is a distortion plugin from FL Studio, which added some nice character and warmth to the sound. A Delay 3, with some very simple delay, and then a reverb for some extra room, and a kickstart for sidechaining over here. And that were all the synths of the track. Now let's check out the vocal, which plays an important role in the track. It sounds like this.
It feels right. It feels right. You gotta turn it up. It feels right.
The vocals are two different vocal hooks from our ecstatic pack. The first one is this one.
It feels right.
And then the second one is this.
You gotta turn it up.
Without any effects, it's like this.
It feels right.
And I added an EQ to remove the low end and duck in a little bit of the high end. A delay.
It feels right. It feels right.
Which makes it go on a little bit longer, creates this nice kind of echo sound. Then a reverb.
It feels right.
Just the basic stuff. An endless small, which is probably used in the build-up,
It feels right.
but I'm not sure. And then there is a kickstart for a little bit of sidechaining, so it's also sidechained with the rest of the track.
It feels right.
As you can see, I created some chops over here,
It feels
which creates this kind of stuttery effect, which you can also hear in some of the tracks by Marlon Hoffstadt. And over here, in this part, it's even faster.
It feels right.
I did this by just cutting the first part of the vocal like this, and then making it really short. And you can play around with length. It creates some interesting like stutters with that.
It feels right.
Then the other vocal is mixed a little bit differently.
You gotta turn it up. You gotta turn it up.
It has a destructor on it for some distortion, an EQ, which is probably somewhat the same as the other vocal.
You gotta turn it up.
Removes a little bit of the low end, and then only a reverb and not a delay.
You gotta turn it up.
And then with the other elements,
You gotta turn it up. It feels right. It feels right. You gotta turn it up. It feels right.
and in some like transition parts of the track, there's also this third vocal, which is a simple vocal shot.
Go, go, go.
And vocal shots like these, like this go, can really help adding some extra hype to the track.
Go, go.
Which Marlon Hoffstadt also likes to use.
Go, 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 go. It feels right.
And then over here as well. Now finally, let me show you the effects. There's nothing really crazy going on. There is this vinyl noise sound, which I like to layer underneath most of my tracks to give that kind of analog, old school feel, but it's not that loud in volume. For the build-up, there are some effects like simple white noise sweeps, an impact, and things like a riser. And some basic drum fills, basically really simple. This 909 roll, a crash, and then also this clap, and then it sweeps into the drop. Some basic white noise downlifters, which help with the energy of the track. And then everything together, so the kick and bass, drums, vocals, synths, FX and more sound something together like this.
It feels right. It feels right. You gotta turn it up. It feels right. It feels right. Go. It feels right. It feels right. You gotta turn it up.
And that's everything for this Marlon Hoffstadt style track. If you want to download the project file of this video, then make sure to check out our pack aesthetic, which also includes all the sounds that I used in this video. There are more videos coming on the modern trance and hard house wave that's going on right now. So if you have any suggestions on what artists, techniques or styles we should cover, then feel free to drop it in the comments. And for now, I want to thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.